This is Blood and Firewater, a true crime comedy discussion type podcast. We shoot tequila and we chase it with a case of murder. Just as a disclaimer, this podcast contains mature content not suitable for all ages, so listeners' discretion is advised. I am your host Rashad, and I would like to thank each and every one of you for tuning into the show. We promise not to be insensitive to the victims and respect their families. However, we will poke fun at other persons, places, and things involved with the case. We're not professionals, and we don't pretend to be. And again, thank you. You. Without you, we wouldn't be here. And if this is your first time here, welcome. We release episodes on Tuesdays, and if you're looking for extra content or early releases on episodes, be sure to check out our Patreon page. With that being said, let's get into tonight's case.
Given to Xerox building. We've got. What's the address? What is the address? 1200 Non-Limits Highway, Xerox Corp. You gotta get there right away. Okay, anybody hurt? Yeah. Some of the guys said some guys are down. They're dead. Can you see right now? I'm in a room, my office right now. Okay. But I see two people on the next row.
Okay, are they moving or breathing?
No.
Is it safe for you to go near them? Are you sure that the shooter is gone?
Yeah.
People on the way.
Okay, great.
Okay. All right. So let me go up. Man, hang on now just a minute, okay? I'm not going to lose you, but I'm going to tell the ambulances what's going on, okay?
Okay. There's at least 6 people.
6 people. Okay, we need another ambulance then. Okay, are you ready?
Today's case takes place in Honolulu, Hawaii on November 2nd, 1999. Now, I haven't heard of it before, but we're 40 some odd episodes in and we've covered mass shootings before. It stood out to me because it's like one of those things in life that let you know the worst possible thing in the world can happen in some of the most inconspicuous places in the world with some of the most inconspicuous people that you could think of. It could be the guy sitting next to you in class or the chick 2 cubicles down that hates your guts. So the morning of November 2nd, 1999, 7 men would be fatally shot at work by a disgruntled employee, upset that he had to learn how to operate a new machine at work. Anyone's capable of anything like this. In this day and age where people are now being replaced with machines, it's probably more likely for someone to snap over having to learn how to operate a new machine. But now people are losing their jobs to machines. So there's like 2 Walmarts in my neighborhood. There's 2 actual registers and the rest of them are self-checkouts. And I remember once upon a time, somebody said the self-checkout would be faster, but now it takes even longer now. I don't even like going to Walmart anymore. I'm not shooting my shot at Walmart though. Like I obviously I still go, but
I thought you meant like you were trying to make a pass at Walmart.
I went to Walmart today. I'm just
so
saying,
what are we
man,
talking about?
people are getting replaced not for not knowing how to use the equipment, but the equipment itself. Like what part are you missing here?
No, I'm just saying like you're
What?
you know
Like I'm okay, what I'm saying is somebody shot up okay. I'm getting mad, bro, because you're not listening to me. I'm trying to tell you, somebody shot up their workplace because they didn't want to learn how to use something, but people are now getting replaced not because they're not learning how to use the equipment, but because of the equipment.
right.
All right, so you just wait till the first Walmart gets shot up because Meemaw didn't want to lose her fucking job. You'll see.
Did you just say Meemaw?
And with that being said, in true crime fashion, we're going to talk about one of the worst case scenarios that I could find in the land of paradise. It was the worst mass murder in the history of Hawaii. This is the Xerox murder case. I don't know if I probably said it already, but like, cause you pissed me off and I went off a little bit and I'm sorry. I love you, but like, don't cross me.
These hands for everybody.
Brian Koji Uyesugi was born in Honolulu, Hawaii in 1959 and raised in the Nuuanu neighborhood. While at Roosevelt High School, he was a member of the school's JROTC and on the rifle team. So he's already just like kind of familiar with guns. He was really close with his mother, but she passed away from cancer in 1988. That's all I got for his social life. He was a mama's boy, no girlfriend, never married, no kids. He does have a brother named Dennis who's going to come up in like 2 seconds. So in 1977, Byran got into a car accident with his father's car and a telephone pole and injured his head on the windshield, and his brother Dennis went on to say that he would never be the same again. We all know about the bump on the noggin thing with serial killers, but traumatic brain injury, or TBI, is very common in young people. It often leads to cognitive and personality issues that may increase the risk of a crime. It's the damage in the frontal lobe that increases the risk of making bad decisions. With that being said, damage to your frontal lobe can cause increased irritability, the inability to regulate behavior, and the inability to recognize consequences, as we'll find out. Here is where I'd like to introduce you to the red flag counter. Throughout the rest of this episode, if you hear this sound, a red flag has made itself very clear. With that being said, for the head injury thing, fucking red flag. But according to Hiroyuki, did I just say that right the first time? Yeah. Byron's father, everything
Way to go.
everything was normal. Byron enjoyed breeding goldfish and koi and repairing small engines. He enjoyed nice cigars, woodworking, and drinking Pepsi. Oh yeah, and collecting guns. A lot of guns. Byron had over 25 registered guns and ammunition. Byron was employed by Xerox in 1984 as a service technician. He was really quiet and good-natured, showed no signs of red flags here besides the poking in his head that started in 1988. Yeah, he started complaining about a poking sensation all over his body and seeing shadow people. It was also in 1988 that Dennis, the brother, came home one day to find Byron punching himself in the face and head. See, Byron always saw shadow people after the car accident, and sometimes the shadow people were violent. One night, Byron claimed that one of these shadow people appeared to be at the foot of his bed and grabbed him by the ankles. To fight it off, he stabbed it with a knife. This is when his father and brother stepped in and suggested help for his shadow people problem, but Byron refused. He didn't think anything was wrong, neither did the shadow people. So the family got a local clergyman, Reverend Clarence.
I'm sorry, just neither did the shadow people.
Well, they have shadow people lives matter.
I was just sorry. That's not a good kind of person to go off of. That's not a good. Yeah, this is just me. It's just like, I don't know. I wouldn't want to take their word for it, but okay.
So the family got a local clergyman, Reverend Clarence Heiger, in on the situation. Heiger knew what he was doing. He'd run into people like Byron all over the island. People punching themselves in the face while shadow people cheered them on was a common thing in Hawaii. Heiger knew exactly what to do. He instructed the family to go outside and dig 4 holes in the ground of the corners of their property. Then bury some rice, some koi, some mullet, and beer in the 4 holes. That's it. Problem solved.
No, oh, okay. Well, that's a plan.
In 1993, Byron was arrested for threatening a supervisor and kicking in an elevator door. He was charged with third-degree criminal property damage. The charges were later dropped, but with his violent outburst, Byron was ordered by his supervisor, Melvin Lee, to seek psychological help. After Xerox Western Regional Security Manager James Hughes stepped in, Byron told him that he had thoughts about taking physical retribution on those who had crossed him. After Hughes investigated into the claim of the conspiracy, he found no evidence of sabotage. He underwent a psychiatric evaluation and anger management courses, and he remained at the Castle Medical Center for 5 days. His diagnosis was delusional disorder, but posed no threat to himself or others. He literally told the psychological help, I feel like hurting people. Like, I feel like that's what he said.
My man was like, I feel like that too. You're fine.
Yeah, we all think about hurting somebody sometimes, don't you?
My wife? If you just knew her like I did.
Yeah, he said he had thoughts about physical retribution. Like, isn't that the definition of physical retribution? Like shooting up the workplace?
Yeah.
Like, that's directly what that is.
That's specifically what that is.
The worst possible thing. Like, we're going to go ahead and assume the worst because it could happen.
Physical retribution. That's
So-
just way too specific to not
So-
be like,
He was diagnosed with delusional disorder or whatever. So while he was away, this was when Byron's fellow coworkers came forward and told upper management, hey, you know that we know he's crazy. Why are y'all just figuring this out? Shortly after being hired at Xerox, Byron started to make unfounded accusations of people teasing him and claims of harassment. Then he started accusing other repair operators of product tampering, meaning they were fucking with the machines that he used in efforts to make him look silly. Byron, according to his co-workers, was hard to deal with, and with that, Byron started to directly start threatening people's lives. But he stuck to his guns. No pun intended. According to Byron, his fellow employees had ostracized him and exhibited patterns of harassment and spread fake rumors about him. He was sure the main guy that was up to the funny business was Ronald Kawame and Jason Balatico. Byron was convinced, without a shadow person of a doubt, that Ronald was the instigator of all the jokes, and James was an undercover FBI agent hell-bent on his career's demise, planting bugs in his home and his car, and he was mutilating his fish and his goldfish. That should clear up all these red flags. I think you just report the guys and, that's it. Like, you don't have to go shoot up your workplace. But Byron, being Byron, had to start leaving threatening notes around his workplace, drawings of mass shootings all around the office. He displayed signs of an even shorter temper than before, openly threatening more people at work, and had been talking about carrying out a mass shooting at work as early as 1995. It's like 3 fucking red flags. Like, ding, ding, ding. They were in fear that something bad would happen one day, and that day was November 2nd, 1999. The day before, November 1, Byron was told that he would be training on a new mandatory machine. Xerox was phasing out the outdated photocopier that he was used to servicing earlier in that year and demanded that he learn the newer model, to which Byron replied, quote, "No fucking way, unquote." Then he walked out the office. That was it.
that is it.
That is it. He knew if he did not take the training the next morning, he would be fired. So he decided to give them a reason to fire him. The morning of November 2nd, 1999, Byron brought a 9mm Glock 17 handgun and 2 extra magazines with him to work, along with his usual business attire, which was a Hawaiian shirt and shorts. Probably flip-flops too. Shortly after 8 a.m., there would be only 11 people present in the building at the time. Byron walked into the Xerox building and calmly talked to Lance Mirama on the first floor. Then he went to the second floor and hid behind a water cooler and, quote, got butterflies in his stomach, unquote. Any last-minute red flags you want to maybe point out before we go any further? Armed at work, intent to shoot, hiding behind a water cooler at 8 o'clock in the morning.
Nah, that pretty much sums it up for me.
Okay. Byron scrambles past offices and break rooms into an office where 3 employees were: Ronald Kawame, Jason Balatico, and Randall Shin. Okay, this is about to go down. Just putting that out there. He shot Ronald Kwame in the back of the head. Jason Balatico charged at Byron in efforts to get to the gun and was shot 5 times. Byran ignored the third guy, Randall Shin, and left the room. But the look on my man's face had to have been like, you don't go back to work after that, right? I think you
can't.
I think you can talk to your state and be like, look, I watched somebody
die.
No, not one person, but two people at work. Cut me a check. Byran then turned a corner and entered a conference room where he knew a team meeting would be taking place. In attendance were Ford Kanehira, 41, Ronald Katayoka, 50, Melvin Lee, 58, Peter Mark, 46, John Sakamoto, 36. He opened the door, he calmly waved goodbye, and continued shooting. Melvin Lee was hit first, leaving him with 4 bullet wounds. Then Ronald Katayoka 4 times, Peter Mark twice, and then John Sakamoto 4 times, and Ford Kanehira 5 times. So let's do a bullet count and assume he had an incredible accuracy for a person with 25 guns. Byran shot 25 bullets. So that means by the time he got to the conference room, by the time he had 2 people left in the room, Byran would have had to reload. The Glock 17 carries 17 bullets. So he had shot 11 and then got 2 people off when he walked into, or 3 people off when he got into the room. So he still had 2 people just like, hold on. And then,
Yeah.
Bang, 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 bang. All right. All 7 people shot in the Xerox building that day were fatally wounded. Byran turns down a back stairwell in pursuit of Steve Matsuda, another manager, and attempts to kill him, but his attempts were thwarted. Byran then flees in a green company van and eludes incoming police officers. Byran then drives down the road to the Hawaii Nature Center. Coincidentally, there's a class field trip there, 60 kids in the building to be exact. But none of the children were harmed as the Nature Center went into lockdown, as well as local schools, roads, and other businesses. He stayed in the work van until police were notified of his presence by a jogger. The negotiations went on for hours. There, Byran smoked cigarettes, he read magazines, and drank bottles of water. Byran eventually surrendered at about 3 p.m. thanks to none other than a can of Pepsi. The trial began on May 15, 2000, where he pleaded not guilty by reasons of insanity. He did have certified psychiatrist Dr. Park Dietz, who I mentioned in another episode, and Dr. Daryl Matthews say that he was in fact insane because of the delusions of shadow people and then the people fucking with him at work and the people fucking with his fish. The prosecution rebutted that Byran was in no way, shape, or form insane, but schizophrenic. He did not meet the criteria of an insanity plea, not extreme emotional trauma or mental disturbance. Byran knew right from wrong that he carried out the shooting because of seasonal affectiveness disorder, or SAD for short. Is The Office that dry to you that you just don't like it, or you? I know this is not the time or the place to talk about it, but
It's just it just didn't have anything to catch my attention.
Really?
I mean, the show,
Really?
yeah, like the show
Really?
is funny. I mean, it has its moments. Yeah, I've watched it.
it has
but
its
just
moments.
yeah, and especially after Steve Carell left, I was
Oh
like, I'm
my
way
God.
uninterested in this. I mean,
Anyway.
I've watched like a few episodes of it. Yeah, like, and
few
don't get me wrong,
episodes? I don't know why everything is a red flag to me. That you're saying.
I'm just saying, like, you don't like Letterkenny like at all, and that shit is fucking
Oh
hilarious.
my God, Letterkenny. So I have all the problems that you have with The Office with Letterkenny. I'm not saying Letterkenny isn't funny. I'm just saying
It just isn't for
it's
you.
just
That's
not for
fine.
me.
And that's how it is with The
I can
Office.
see
Like,
how
it's just
people
like,
find Letterkenny funny.
I can see how people find The Office funny. But
No,
it's
I
just
don't
like,
understand how anyone could not find The Office funny. That's
Because
that's my problem. Your
it's
show
just-
doesn't have that.
How not?
What?
It's literally the same thing.
No, it's not.
Yes, it is.
Anyway, June 13th, 2000, the jury rejected the insanity defense and found Byran Uyesugi guilty. He was charged with 1 count of first-degree murder and 7 counts of murder in the second, and 1 count for attempted murder in the second. On the 8th of August, Byran Uyesugi was sentenced to life without the possibility of parole for the murders and life without the possibility for parole after 25 years for the attempted murder, as Hawaii does not carry the death penalty. The sentences were to run consecutively. He also was ordered to pay $70,000 to the Crime Victim Compensation Fund and $500 in restitution. So, if you were as confused as I was, the parole board cleared it all up and said that Byran Uyesugi must serve 235 years before he even thinks about parole. So be on the lookout for this guy in 2235. And this is the only thing that warned people of this guy. The families of the victims filed charges against Byran and Xerox for failing to prevent the shooting after all of these red flags that Byran was not even hiding. Like this, he was out here with it, with his crazy. 2005, Xerox settled the lawsuit for an undisclosed amount of money. They also started a scholarship for the victims' children, totaling up to $400,000. The building remained empty until 2004, when the producers of the show Lost bought and used it as a soundstage for indoor scenes. I believe now it's a showroom for tile and stone. So, yeah, that is the Xerox murders. So, Dre,
Sir.
I asked you as a chaser for this week to tell me about red flag laws.
So the red flag law is it's the best way I can describe it is it really just depends from state to state. Now, what I mean by that is just like, all right, if somebody's murdered, you can't just break that down into just a simple category because there's manslaughter, second, first, third. There's categories above it. But what the red flag law means is that just kind of simplify it. If based off of prior determination by people who are close to you or even law enforcement or state attorneys, that if you are deemed a risk to harm to either yourself or others, they can temporarily take your rights to own a firearm. So,
is that in all states or is it?
No, so it's only, well, currently now it's in 18 states in the District of Columbia. So currently it's Connecticut, Indiana, California, Washington, Oregon, Florida, Vermont, Maryland, Rhode Island, New Jersey, Delaware, Massachusetts, Illinois, DC, like I said before, New York, Colorado, Nevada, Hawaii, and most recently New Mexico. A majority of these, what it is a lot of people are really up in arms about it because if it's a family member, a close, or it's part of your family, a household member, or law enforcement, a lot of these places can take your gun rights away. So a majority of them, California, Washington, Oregon, a grand majority of them, they just need one of those three and they can take your rights away.
Is this why people are so mad about gun rights?
Yeah. So like in Connecticut, you can just they were the first ones to do it in 1999. And it just takes one attorney or two police officers to say, hey, they're not suitable to own a firearm, and they take your rights away temporarily. Sometimes it can end up being indefinitely.
I thought this was America.
And like in Indiana, Florida, and Rhode Island, it's just law enforcement. They can just be like, hey, not deemed, and that's it. And in Vermont, it's just your state attorney. Simply that's it. I mean, there's really no psych eval or anything like that. They really just go in and just say, hey, this person isn't deemed to be.
He's been flagged.
Yeah, like, and with that, and most recently, that's why Hawaii was just like, hey, bro, we should kind of
I heard Hawaii just opened back up.
Not that I have seen anything about, but then
I saw pictures it was on Twitter. That shit might not be real.
Okay.
It looked like clickbait, to be honest with you.
Okay.
And I was like, I kind of want to see what people like. First off, like to be in a financial situation, be like, God, we made it through this pandemic. Let's go to Hawaii. Like, no, it's not. It's not gonna work out like that.
Not entirely.
But that's this week's case. Well, shouts out to Hawaii for being, still one of the states with the lowest crime rate in the 50 nifty.
I thought it was nifty 50.
Yeah, it doesn't matter.
Okay.
Shouts out to Drunk Theory, our producers of the show. Also, shout out to Lucy, who just became a producer of the show. You can follow us on Instagram at Blood and Fire Water Podcast, and Twitter and Snapchat at BFW Pod Squad.
That's gonna do it.
Rate, review, subscribe, stay alert, stay alive, wear a mask, go buy a mask. They give them out, tell them to give you 2 or 3 more, and then every day do that for 2 weeks, and then you'll have hella mask and you have to pay nothing.
Life hack.
Bye. I hope you like Slenderman 2. If you haven't, go listen to it, but you gotta listen to Slenderman 1 part first, or first part first. Kind of, if you just listen to part 2, then that was your fault. But go back and then listen to part 1 and then listen to part 2 again, and then you should enjoy it more, because it's kind of
they go together.
It was kind of I wrote it continuing that episode. So anyway, bye.
Holla.